Hello and welcome. My name's Dychronic, and today, take a look at my top 10 PvE specials in Destiny 2 Season of the Seraph. And of course, as always, I have made a spreadsheet for this video with all the beautiful stuff that you love, including the DPS calculations, which can still be found at my Discord server, link in the description down below on the channel #spreadsheetstalk. And of course, in this section of the video, we have cute animals on screen right now. First of all, because cute animals are fun, and I love looking them up. Second of all, I wanted to tell you about my Patreon, and I needed a little bit of brainwashing. Because frankly, these spreadsheets and these videos, they would not be possible without the support of my patrons on Patreon. So if you like what you see with these spreadsheets and you want to see them continue, please consider donating. And a big thank you to a lot of recent people who have been pledging on Patreon. It really means a lot to me, and I really do appreciate it. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. On screen right now, this is my spreadsheet. All the dark theme, color-coded pictures, recommendations, catalyst information for all the different weapons, as well as the rankings organized by DPS with the DPS calculations on the right side, as well as at the very bottom we have a bunch of fun little charts, which, if you don't know, these charts are pretty cool. Now, if you're new to Destiny 2 or you find this very confusing, don't worry, I've included a tutorial to my spreadsheets as well as a general idea of Destiny 2 in the description down below and a special little video for you. Moving on, let's go ahead and get started. At number 10, we have the Merciless. In my opinion, one of the more underrated weapons in the game, and honestly, if you haven't used this after the changes they made to it, it destroys things. First of all, look at the DPS and the full ammo damage. 1,000,000 full ammo damage, DPS around 50,000. You compare that to some heavy weapons, you can find that it's at the level of rocket launchers with more full ammo damage. And if you don't know what they did to change it, first of all, a few seasons ago they made it actually work because for some reason it was broken, it didn't speed up its charge. And I think this season they made it so that it doesn't reset its charge on a kill, which it just has a timer of around 4 to 5 seconds, which makes it actually an okay option for major killing as well as boss killing. And honestly, it starts to shoot so fast I'll accidentally sneeze out shots by accident. And furthermore, it's a fusion rifle, meaning that it has a better range potential, meaning you can use it more safely than that of a lot of shotguns, which you can see a lot of shotguns like Lord of Wolves, Duality, and Fourth Horseman, which have higher DPS but less full ammo damage and less range. After that, at number 9, we have the Izanagi's Burden. Now this is a very special sniper, which back in, I think, Season of the Dawn was higher DPS than all heavy weapons in the game, which actually by itself got all snipers nerfed across the board, when technically Izanagi's Burden was really the only problem. And if you look at it, its DPS as a sniper and its full ammo damage is really, really impressive. If you compare that to a lot of the other sniper rifle options, you can see the total ammo damage is higher and the DPS is leagues above it, including that of the Izanagi's Burden if you're just firing it regularly. So TLDR, this is a cannon weapon. You use the ammo very quickly, it does a lot of damage very short amount of time, you're not in the open for very long either, and is often used in raid DPS as accompanied with the other heavy weapon damage, or in GMs to obviously burst down a champion. But in this current meta, obviously we have more linear fusion rifles and hasn't been seen as much because of it. Up next at number 8, we have the Bastion, which not only has really good DPS, really good full ammo damage, and a pretty decent range for a fusion rifle, it also has built-in unstoppable rounds. Now this is very important for a number of reasons, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. Special ammo champion weapons, especially exotics that maintain from season to season, are way better than their primary counterparts. Take, for example, Ariana's Vow and Barrier Champions. You can two-shot a Grandmaster Nightfall Barrier Champion shield with Ariana's Vow, and with Arbalest you can one-shot it, compared to like more than half a clip with an auto rifle, if the auto rifles had barrier rounds. The fact you can do this so much faster, and this is also true with Bastion, you don't need to wait for the gun to light up, it just has built-in unstoppable rounds and it will activate on every shot. It really does make a big difference. After that, at number 7, we have the Divinity, which a lot of people have completely forgotten about and have stopped using after the nerf. If you did not know, the nerf made it so it didn't have the maximum weaken effect, instead it was around 10%, which is in line with that of Weaken Clear. But it still does everything else exactly the same. It still has that guaranteed crit hit right in the middle of its bubble, it still has built-in overload rounds, meaning that it's good for Grandmasters, and frankly, applying Weaken to an enemy is now a lot harder. Other than using Weaken Clear, which is the same damage enemy debuff, using something like Tether doesn't last the whole boss DPS phase all the time, and you don't always have it. So having Divinity makes it easier. And furthermore, on enemies whose crits are really hard to hit, like for example the Sisters in King's Fall, when you have so much flinch, having a Divinity really helps a lot. Especially in our current meta with linear fusion rifles, if you can get that crit, you're doing 4 times the damage. If you don't, you're not. So Divinity is still an excellent option. After that, at number 6, we have the lightweight frame shotguns for a number of different reasons. First of all, their DPS is some of the highest of all the shotguns in the game, while still having decent full ammo damage, which is generally what shotguns suffer from, is not having very high full ammo damage, and obviously being very close range and very dangerous to use. And the lightweight shotguns, with that, also has a very nice middle ground of fire rate, of handling, of control, of magazine, and a few different options. And with those options, it technically has Without Remorse and Wastelander as a kinetic and energy option that is craftable. Although, outside of that, not a lot of options. And lastly, they're very easy to use. It's a shotgun, it pellet spreads, it's a 1.1 crit, meaning that getting crits is useless anyways, and it also is lightweight, meaning that you run faster with a weapon, which is always good. After that, at number 5, we have the lightweight frame special ammo grenade launchers, as well as the double frame, the new Wilderflight from the Raid, or the Spire of the Watcher dungeon. Now, what seems to be the case is that shooting double grenades actually gives you a lot more damage. Even without spike grenades or any other damage bonus, Wilderflight's doing really well. The one downside is that it doesn't shoot straight, it shoots kind of a fork. Beyond that, just in general, lightweight frame grenade launchers have a lot of full ammo damage, as well as a very good ammo economy. You pick up that special ammo brick, you have ammo for quite some time. On top of obviously being AoE hits that can stagger many enemies and hit many enemies at the same time, you can hit around corners, you can hit very far and very close, and probably most importantly, you can have blinding grenades, which allows you to just tell certain enemies to just stop doing what they're doing for around 5 seconds. As well as the fact that the artifact currently has unstoppable grenade launcher and we can clear with grenade launchers, which is strong. Special armor grenade launchers, just a great default pick as well, because it handles pretty much any range safely and goodly. Yes, very goodly. After that, at number 4, we have the slug shotguns, which I technically prefer over the lightweights. Firstly, they do technically have less DPS than that of the lightweights, but they have better full ammo damage, on top of obviously having more range, which means you can stay a little bit farther out of these slam melee attacks of a lot of bosses. And currently I have it set as an 80% crit, which means I expect you to get a crit 80% of the time, which means if you can do better than that, it can be even better upper bound. Whereas again, the lightweights are a 1.1 crit, meaning that stuffing the body is almost always better. And currently we don't have a lot of new options for slugs. Obviously we do have the Heritage, which is going to be DSC, which will probably take you a long time, and currently we don't have an API to understand all the perks for it. But overall, slug shotguns I still find to be my favorite. Following that, at number 3, we have the rapid fire fusion rifles, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. They are the king of PvE fusion rifles, bar none. They not only have the highest DPS of all the fusion rifles, which makes sense for faster fire rate, they also have the highest full ammo damage, which doesn't make sense. And I'm not joking, I've tested this many different times. All the other fusion rifles, for some reason, have less of both. The only downside to rapid fire is the fact they have less range, but honestly the range that they can do is still higher than a slug shotgun. And that range is often decent enough to handle even the highest level play, and is very good for bursting down enemy champions and grandmasters. As well as obviously being very easy to use. It charges very quickly, it has great handling, and on top of that, we also have a lot of options. First of all, Riptide, a kinetic slot fusion rifle. Still weird, but still technically a thing. Cartesian coordinate, we've had for a long time. No composer, you can technically purchase from the exotic archive, and likely suspect, a craftable version with golden tricore. And following that, at number 2, we have the Witherhorde. And if you were to tell me you think it's the best special ammo weapon for PvE, I honestly wouldn't fight you on it. This thing is incredible and was so close to breaking number 1 in my opinion. Now, there are a few things you should know. First of all, artifact mods are favoring grenade launchers with unstoppable grenade launcher and obviously weaken clear, making it actually a champion viable weapon, which is a big part of why it could be number 1. Beyond that, it has some of the highest total ammo damage in the game. You can see here, all 3 of these spikes are Witherhorde. And you can obviously tell this one right here, even though it's low, and technically this is the nerf to the floor damage, which is down from 7.5 seconds to 4.5 seconds, is still doing ridiculous total ammo damage. And honestly, using it is not the best way to use it. You want to shoot a shot at the enemy and swap to a heavy or a super or a primary and deal damage with that while this is ticking away on the enemies, which makes it such a good ad killing weapon, a boss killing weapon, a major killing weapon. It does it all. And when I say this is some of the highest full ammo damage in the game, 2.2 million full ammo damage compared to heavies in the game, which there are only like 3 options that can actually get over 2.2, including Crown Splitter, Lament, and the firing line on Storm Chaser. That's ridiculous for a special ammo weapon. And that's not all. Technically, it's one of the easiest weapons to get because you can purchase it from the archive as long as you have Shadow Key. And on top of that, the Catalyst gives it auto-loading and better handling, which is exactly how you want to use this weapon. although it does take quite some time to get. Was it like 400 games of Crucible and Strikes? Yikes. And finally, at number 1, we have the Arbalist and the Ariana's Vow. Now, these weapons are good in my opinion, almost every single way. Their DPS and full ammo damage are very good, especially compared to the fact that they can reach out to sniper rifle level range, and Ariana's Vow is actually pretty comfortable at close range as well. And furthermore, both of these obviously have built-in barrier rounds. One is energy and one is kinetic, which is often why I call them brothers rather than competitors. Meaning that, again, that they're built-in special ammo champion rounds, which can kill special ammo barrier round champions very quickly. And furthermore, they both have a damage bonus. Ariana's Vow, as long as you're getting headshots, increase your damage a little bit. And Arbalist, if you break an enemy shield, which includes the elemental shields as well as the barrier shield, you get 50% more damage with kinetic weapons, which is Arbalist. And one downside with Arbalist is that the crit multiplier is almost 4 times, meaning that you have to get a headshot, and obviously not very good in close range. And to kind of balance this out, Ariana's Vow on the other side has autoloading, which is not only a very nice thing to have, but with specialized champion rounds, you want to make sure the weapon that has those champion rounds has ammo in it. And with Ariana's Vow, it almost always has the ammo you need. And lastly, a lot of people talk about the fact that Arbalist can one-shot a barrier champion shield, where Ariana's takes 2 shots, and this is technically true, but the time to break is usually about the same. Because of the charge time on Arbalist being around 0.6 seconds to actually shoot the shot, Ariana's Vow's break time is around 0.7, it's basically the same. In the end, it doesn't matter which one is better. What matters is that one is kinetic and one is energy. They both do barrier rounds, they both handle ranges, they both have damage bonuses, and they're both amazing. And lastly, obviously, Ariana's Vow you can purchase from the archive with Shadowkeep, which is easier to get than Arbalist because it's random. And of course, a big shout out to those patrons on Patreon. Specifically, a big thank you to Mom and Dad, Kipper Shaw, Robert Strayer, Waffle, Monday, Steve Watkins, Junior Panther, Case Reagan, and William Peterson. Follow us on Patreon, and that's it. Hope you guys did enjoy. My name is Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.